empty registered 42 kilometers. Before it is dismissed as normal, the following says different. The trucker's trough from which they drink has a bearing on quality. In Ceduna, the only fuel bowser available was a high-flow trucker's bowser, so had to improvise with tape and jerrycan filler spout. The average sucker driving a fancy diesel, drinking from a low-flow nozzle, is well and truly screwed in the greater country, just as is the average mug with a petrol engine. Reality or myth? It was worth a mention because the fuel economy improved substantially after Ceduna, exceeding 9 kilometers per litre at a set cruise control of 100 kilometers per hour. After the next fill, at a beggar's trough, the mileage dropped off again. Could it be stale fuel? Is there such a thing? The aim was to get fuel efficiency simply. Nothing too complicated. A simple connection of a HG on-demand system, just like in the YouTube videos, without any major modifications to the engine. Simply drill a hole in an elaborate state-of-the-art modern engine air intake system. The comical irony, and Abra-Ca-Dabra, voila, a little magic, PWooF. Well, it worked. 12%, 47%, actually amazing. Further proof that HG works is the indirect gains of a clean engine. With no HG connected, highway fuel efficiency peaking substantially to 23,24 kilometers per litre, and the previous owner's 19 was now no longer a myth after 7 years of ownership. Also, average consumption as per the car's onboard computer jumped from 9.2 to 12.3 kilometers per litre, a running average, fuel efficiency improvement, real improvements. The extra power and torque as a result of the HHO keeps the vehicle in a higher gear. The lower engine RPM lowers fuel consumption. The engine feels smoother, possibly due to the improved flame propagation and the quantum splash in the combustion chamber, quelching hot spots, stopping pre-detonation. There is a notable change in driving characteristics with the automatic, and until you figure out what is actually happening, the vehicle feels sluggish, as the standard engine mapping has calculated from available power that the vehicle can be in a higher gear. Also, the increased torque comfortably holds the higher gear to the point of reluctance to change down. But the kick down to the lower gear follows after a more assertive prod on the accelerator, and not until that point when you stab the accelerator pedal, referencing pedal travel needed to kick down a gear, that you realize how much more torque the engine is producing with the HHO. It is all real, and contrary to the expert engineers explaining the principles of thermodynamics, etc., all that theory just does your head in. One camp saying it's bullshit, BS, and the other camp, well, they must be straight up lying, scamming scumbags, correct? Possible. Possibly because they are only sharing the positives, and the bucket full of negatives are never fully addressed by any one source or article. And with so many variables, who cares? Just tell them what they, the hopefuls, want to hear on YouTube. It works. Well, yes, in practice, maybe not in theory of real engineers. It works. But there are limits. The limits are acceptable. The intent is to dope the diesel combustion mixture, just the right amount with HG, without altering the stoichiometry, as too much, which is a common mistake, unravels all benefits, bar the benefit of a good engine deep clean. The engine's computer cannot compensate for a drastic change in fuel characteristics, and although there may be a solution, a sensor-by-sensor reprogramming, it is beyond the scope here. If you have the time, the need, and the want, it is not impossible. The simple process of doping ideally favors a diesel engine, especially a hard-working diesel engine with enough smarts, and although more can be achieved, it no longer remains DIY. Even if a mechanic or a tuning house was willing to take on the challenges of reprogramming the engine management system, there are still regulatory authorities like the EPA, Environmental Protection Authority, and ADR, Australian Design Rules, to satisfy, as the engine settings will no longer be in compliance with original factory approvals of the vehicle, recognized by these authorities. It is possible if you are motivated, but the aim is to remain DIY and do better than EPA requirements while remaining within the vehicle's standard specifications to satisfy ADR. Also, we have to remain mindful that most HHO systems are a constant source, interfacing with a fully dynamic engine system, so achieving any benefits can be awe-inspiring. The doping process works best with a diesel engine for many reasons. The limits are few but significant. Lots of miles, lots of heavy hauling to make it worthwhile is obvious. Doping will give good results. A vehicle maxed out has the most to gain. However, the nature of internal combustion engines' low thermodynamic efficiency paints a different picture. It is accepted that internal combustion engines are extremely inefficient, so any efficiency improvement can be significant, even with highly advanced modern diesel engines. The HHO system is engine size specific and needs extraordinary attention to tune the system. So it shouldn't be any wonder why HHO pundits get it wrong. You have to work with it for it to work for you. Tweaking, adjusting, checking, maintaining, servicing, keeping yourself ahead of the game is hard work, not a lazy man's game. If you only occasionally ran the HG system on your vehicle, the interval really does not matter. There will be benefits, without a doubt, and it will not be limited to just fuel economy. Cleaner air, a better environment, imagine that. When the HG is connected in a confined environment, the exhaust fumes do not appear to overwhelm. It is almost unnoticeable, and also when the engine is deep clean, immediately after disconnecting HG. A picture paints 1,000 words. Exhaust tip tailpipe of my SUV with 139,000 kilometers after the engine had snorted HHO for about 1,000 kilometers on the first test run, image 4, says it all. But it is inconclusive, as modern diesels like mine run very clean anyways. There is that surprising average consumption figure on the vehicle's onboard computer, further confirmation that HHO doping works. And it may warrant a more discrete permanent dry cell system. However, this wet cell has proven to be versatile. One system can be sufficient. Also, there are indirect gains from a clean engine, so unless the caravan is parked for long periods, the system remains on the caravan because fuel efficiency immediately improves when the rig is uncoupled. Admittedly, the transfer from caravan to tow ball carrier and vice versa is inconvenient, but the benefits do outweigh the inconvenience. So why such a large system is a fair question when YouTube is showcasing elegant, compact, sometimes dare I say sexy looking units. And what about those snazzy, compact little dry cells? It started out as a project for my rig, and the idea extended to others in much the same situation. So the capacity of the system and the capability to tune the system using the basic elements of concentration, volume, temperature was important to maintain a simple, robust system configuration no matter the rig. Here, the concentration of the electrolyte does not need to exceed 3.5 teaspoons per 3.5 liters of water. for a 2-liter diesel engine, compared to some YouTube posts that have anything up to a few tablespoons in a fraction over 1 liter of water. The benefits of optimizing the system with the basics are obvious. Also, it had to be readily or relatively easily fabricated from commonly available items, materials suited to the application, without compromising safety or functionality or serviceability, and also something an average handy person like myself would be able to do. Is there something more suited than PVC DWV pipe and safe? The truth be known about those sexy looking units on YouTube, they are show ponies, not workhorses. Some of them would be lucky to survive a second take of the video, had the first take failed. I'm being facetious, but based on what I've learned along the way, not everything you see on YouTube is what it appears to be. One fancy looking unit claimed to produce 5 liters per minute, and if you had not been paying careful attention to the presentation, you would have missed the part when connected to 2 car batteries. So if you only had intention to connect it to 1 battery, you're stumped. It wouldn't have worked producing 5 liters per minute. And how long would it have run on the 2 batteries before meltdown? I've learnt not long. However, every contribution is towards the collective good and the progress of this controversial energy, Brown's gas. PWooF is just that, kicking that can just a little further down the road to further the progress of HHO, Brown's gas, hydroxy gas. PWooF evolved into a fail-safe system, minimizing the risk and dangers associated with the technology of a HHO wet cell system. Each challenge worked a solution that evolved to maintain the identified limits of the system's maximum current and temperature of 20 amps and 70 degrees Celsius respectively. Any breach of those limits failed in an unremarkable way. Safe. Thank you for listening to this presentation. If I could be of any assistance, please contact me on hihealthyindulgence@gmail.com. hihealthyindulgence, all one word, @gmail.com. I'm also contactable on Facebook, Patrick Francis on Facebook. Please look me up and leave me a post or a message and I'll get back to you. One last thing that I'd like to share with you that is of some interest is the dyno run that was done on the vehicle. Performance net gain was less than 2%. Economy net gain was greater than 20%. Input power to the HHO system is 91 watts. Power output measured at the wheels on the dyno is 2.07 kilowatts. If you divide 2000 watts by 90 watts approximating, it equals to 2222.2222 repeating percent net gain. That is more than 2000% net gain in power. So the question comes down to, who do you believe? You can look up all the YouTube channels. You can search the internet. You can look through all the information and misinformation and come to your own conclusion after doing your due diligence. However, does it work? My simple answer to you is yes, it does work. I look forward to you contacting me or keep a lookout for me on the highways with my rig, my SUV and toy hauler named Hardcore